This is Dave from cheapbooks.com. I'm playing World of Tanks. The tank that I'm going to be reviewing today is the Somua S35. It's not going to show any gameplay, but I'm going to go through the tank in detail to show you which modules are important, what its weaknesses are, and some other cool features about this tank. So the Somua S35, I've already been playing it, and I got some games out of it, and I've already moved on to the SAR 42. It's a Tier 3 medium tank. Medium tanks tend to have more of a moderate speed. This one is 45 kilometers, which is actually pretty fast. And it has 3 crew members, and you could argue either way. Having fewer crew members can be good, having more crew members can be good. There's disadvantages and advantages to both. For example, if you have more crew members and they're trained at 100%, you're training more people at the same time, so you're leveling up more people. So a tank with 6 crew members, you're training twice as many people. It's actually a good thing to do. 3 crew members means that sometimes they have to share some of the skills, which puts a lot of responsibility on someone such as a commander who already has a lot of really cool skills. Okay, now we've got the guns, and the guns are very important. It's probably what most people want to upgrade first. So I'm going to look at the guns and I'm going to tell you which ones I recommend, which ones I don't. Usually the first gun is not the best gun. And you'll notice this is a Tier 3 tank, but it's got a Tier 2 gun. The next gun is a Tier 3 gun, which is the SA-35, and the next one up, the SA-37, is also a Tier 3 gun. Now the question is, how do you compare these 3 to know which one to use? There's no such thing that the one that costs the most is the best gun, or the one that requires the most research isn't necessarily the best gun, nor is the best gun the one that's further down the line. So you want to look at the rate of fire, the penetration, the damage, maybe the aiming time, and definitely the weight. So let's look at the rate of fire first. This one has a rate of fire of 25. And one of the issues you're going to come across is that different guns are sometimes measured differently. Some guns are measured with rate of fire, and some are measured with a reload time, which those guns are autoloaders, and perhaps you'll see them in other videos. So a rate of fire of 25 is how many rounds per minute. That means it's going to have about a 2-second reload time. There might be some guns that will say 2 seconds, which would be a rate of fire of 30. So this is approximately 2-second reload time. The next one has a 23.08 rate of fire, which means it's also about 2 seconds. And this one has a 20.69 rate of fire, which is also, I'd say, around 3 seconds. Essentially, I would say in terms of rate of fire, they're all about the same. 2 seconds to 3 seconds is not that big of a difference, especially considering there are tanks that have reload times of 10 seconds or 15 seconds. There's even a tank that has a 30-second reload time, and I think some of the SPGs have 60-second reload times. So don't worry about the reload time for these 3 guns. Now let's look at the penetration. Penetration is what is the most important thing in the game. And the reason why is because it was decided by the developers that penetration would be the measure of the effectiveness of a player. And you want to have the most penetrations. If you get the most penetrations, that's how you get experience. And if you get experience, that's these little green bars. That's how you can upgrade your tracks and your radio and move up to the next tank. You want to get as many penetrations as possible. So you'll notice for average penetration it says 25, 46, 24. The number on the left is with the standard rounds. The number in the middle is with the premium rounds, which they also call gold rounds. And the number on the right is for high explosive rounds. It's not the same with every gun, because some guns only have one type of round, such as the FV304 or howitzer, and some might only have 2 types of rounds. You're probably more interested in the regular ammunition, which in this case has a penetration of 25. For this gun, 45 is the penetration, and this gun 66. Now when you compare 25 to 66, this has a penetration 2.5 times greater than the first gun, but you got to wait an extra second to reload, or half a second to reload. So I would definitely say in terms of penetration, you really want this 47mm SA37. Now let's look at the damage. The damage on this one says 50, which we're looking at the number on the left, which is for regular ammo on average damage. This one has 55, and this one has 55. They all do about the same amount of damage. Therefore, the 47mm SA37 is really looking good. Now you'll notice there's another number that says dispersion at 100 meters. There's another one that says aiming time, and there's another one that says weight. And you're going to see another one that says burst radius, for example. So what will happen is when you shoot your gun, sometimes there's not enough energy shooting that bullet out of the barrel. So what happens is the bullet slows down over a certain distance. And then when the bullet hits, there is a burst radius, which means that if the burst radius is small and you land on the ground next to the tank, you have to be within that radius to hit the tank and do some damage. And it comes into play if you're hitting more than one tank. A bigger burst radius means that you can miss the tank, hit the ground, and still damage it. Bigger burst radius helps you with that. And the aiming time, this one has 1.5, this one has 1.4, this one has 1.7. So this gun actually has a slower aiming time. Aiming time is important if you're far away. When you're up close, you don't really need to aim. Or if you aim manually, you probably don't have to worry too much about it. So in the lower tiers, aiming time might not matter too much, but if you like to shoot tanks from far away, you probably want a good aiming time. And you're going to find a lot of the German tanks have a very quick aiming time. The last number is the weight. This one is 90 kilograms, this one is 100, and this one is 100. If the number is in red, that means that your tank cannot support the gun. And if your tank can't support the gun, you have to upgrade your track, because you can see it says load limit. And it can be true for equipment such as the engines and the turrets. So you have to check the weight for all of those elements. If the weight is in red, then that means that you have to upgrade your tracks first. And what you're going to find is that you might upgrade your gun and then you go to buy it, but it won't mount it because it's over the weight limit. So let's move to the turret. This one only has one turret, so you're going to use that one. The armor is 42 all around, which means that this gun with a 66 penetration could easily penetrate a 42 armor. However, this gun with the 25 penetration is lower than 42. It would have difficulty penetrating. And this one is 45. The armor is 42, so they're about equal. Oh, there is another turret over here. This one's 40, 40, 60. This one's 42, 42, 42. So this other turret has strong rear armor, which doesn't always come into play because tanks are not usually shooting at the back of your turret. But obviously, you always want the strongest armor on your turret. You've got the traverse speed. This one's 42. This one's 40. Usually the traverse speed is only important when you have a tank destroyer with a turret, because the tank destroyers have very slow traverse speeds on their turrets. Most tanks are reasonably good. And there's a trick you can use to increase your traverse speed, which is to rotate your tank using the tracks while you're turning your gun, and it will traverse at probably twice the speed. The last thing you're going to see is the view range, which is 320 on this one and 330 on this one. The view range allows you to see the enemy, so you want a higher view range. You can increase your view range with things like the commander skill of recon, or the radio skill of situational awareness, or with coded optics or binocs. You want the best view range you can get, especially in the lower tiers. And of course the weight is the same as we discussed before. If the weight is in red, that means you need to get new tracks. Now the radio, you've got the 300 signal range, the 360, the 455, and the 710. I would say get up to the 455 definitely. Don't go crazy to get this 710 signal range. The maps are smaller for a Tier 3 game, and the signal range really only comes into play if there's only a few tanks left and you're really spread out. So if there's you and one other tank and he's really far away, he might go out of your signal range, which means you won't be able to see the tanks that he spots, or him. Excuse me. But when you've got 15 tanks on your team, signal range is not that important because you can connect with a lot of tanks and you can see whatever they see. For example, if one player on your team has a good signal range across the map, you'll be able to benefit from him early in the game. It's more important later in the game when you want that signal range. And in terms of the weight, I've never seen a tank that couldn't carry any of the radios. Now let's get down to the engine. This one has a 190 engine power. This one has 219. This one has 230. And at first when you read these, you'll say, well, 230 is not that much greater than 219. And I would say upgrade the engine. If you want to get a lot of kills, you need a fast tank because you need to chase after enemy tanks. And the better engine does make a difference. It does allow you to accelerate faster, reach your high speed faster, and keep that thing moving up the hills. The last matter, of course, is also the chance of fire on impact. It says 20%, 15%, 20%. Your tank doesn't catch on fire very often, so I don't think you should worry too much about that statistic. Excuse me. And the last thing is your tracks. You'll notice that the Somua S35 has a Tier 2 track and a Tier 3 track. And the Tier 3 track has a higher load limit and a faster traverse speed. The traverse speed allows you to spin your tank a little bit faster. And you should decide on your own which one you want. But if you want to kill a lot of enemy tanks, you're going to want the best tracks, you're going to want the best engine, you're going to want the best radio, the best armor, and the best gun. And this is only the turret armor, the upper armor. Now, the tracks, you'll see compatible vehicles. It says Somua S35. Usually, tracks only work with one tank. That's what's most common. The engine, however, can be different. For example, you can see that this engine also works with the SARL 42, but it's probably, when you get the SARL 42, this is probably the base engine, which means you get it anyway when you research that engine. Over here, this is an upgraded engine. If you get this Tier 5 engine, the Somua V8 version definitive, you can see it's the second engine here. So if you get it here, you can take advantage of it with the Somua S35, plus you can keep it for the SARL 42. This one, you get it with the SARL 42 automatically. The radios. This one, as you can see, works with a couple different tanks. It's probably the base radio with the SARL 42. I'm going to show you the higher tier. This goes all the way up to the G1, which might also be called the G1R, which is up here, G1R. So he can use that radio also from the Somua S35. So if you get this radio, you can use it with the next tank, which is the SARL 42, and the tank after that. So you might as well get it now. It'll save you, it'll get you better enjoyment out of this tank, the tank after it, and the tank after that. Usually the turrets only work with one vehicle. As you can see, it's only compatible with one vehicle, and it lists the guns that it's compatible with also. The guns, as you can see in this case, work with a lot of different tanks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different tanks use that gun. And with that one, And with this one, you've got 4 different tanks. If you're going to be driving a lot of different tanks, you might as well get this gun now, as soon as you can get it, because you can use it with 3 other tanks. Let's see the SA-37. The SA-37 is right here. It's the second tank. So let's see how it compares to this. This one is a 45 penetration, and this one is a 66. So if you get this gun right here, which is not required, you'll get better games with the Somua S35, and when you get your SARL 42, you're going to have a better gun instead of the stock gun, which is this one right here. So that's the reason why you want to get these better, the better equipment here. One of the issues that you're going to run into is that there's a cost of purchasing a vehicle. This one is $42,000, and it also has a sell price, which is probably 30% less or half the price. This one has a cost $155,000 is the purchase price, which is what you see up here. If you research this tank, which was $3,230, but you don't have the money to purchase it, you can sell this tank, which you might get $20,000 or $30,000, to apply towards the purchase of your SARL 42, but it still might not be enough. If it's not enough, use your Somua. Keep on playing to earn some money and to research the better, not the better tracks, but the better engine, the better radio, and the better gun. So keep on playing it while you save up your money, get those double victories, research these pieces of equipment, and then when you have the money, buy this. Hopefully it will be better equipped than when you started. Now there's one more little treat that I mentioned about the Somua S35, and I'm going to show you in the garage, in the tech tree. You look on the German line, and there's something here called the Panzer S35, which is a premium tank. This tank is nearly identical to the Somua S35. The guns might be different. You'll have to read to compare. And the armor might be different, and the radio might be different, and the engine might be different, and the tracks might be different. But the tank itself looks the same. And when you read here the vehicle details, it says some of 400 of these French tanks were captured by the German army. They were later used for training purposes and on secondary fronts. So you might be playing a game and you might see that the Somua S35 is also the same as a German tank. And if you want a similar tank, you could also purchase this premium tank with 1,000 gold and take advantage of the premium status. The premium status means that you don't have to research it. You get more credits after each battle. You get additional combat experience. You get more free experience. You can transfer the crew, accelerated crew training, and more crew experience per battle. So that's one of the little cool things about the Somua S35. I no longer have the Somua S35 because I've since upgraded to the SARL 42. However, I will purchase it again at some point, and I'm going to play it some more because I don't think I got my fill of it. I'd like to continue playing. The other thing that you can do, you can buy this tank and the SARL 42. Keep both of them. When you play for your double victory every day, use this one to apply towards the engine, for example. And when you get it, you'll get it over here. And so you can continue playing it even after you buy the SARL 42 to get this gun, the radio, and the engine, which can be used in this tank and possibly in this tank also. Okay, if you have any questions about the Somua S35, please post them below.